Welcome everybody to Scaling Lean's Weekly Live and happy 2025. You have Jonathan Ploransky and Nina Brennan here, co-founders of Scaling Lean, joining you on our weekly live every Thursday at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. JP, I don't even know your time zones with the bouncing back and forth in Arizona. JP's down in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm back in Boulder, Colorado, and it's really nice to just settle into the new year after basically 3 weeks for you and 2 weeks for me, going home to the East Coast and visiting family. So anyone who is joining, whether it's on TikTok or Facebook, just want to say welcome. We're just going to share a tidbit of sustainable scaling in the online space. And we have a really cool topic today about the 5 most important business lessons that we took away from 2024. Had a lot of time to reflect in quarter 4. We ended the year really strong, which was beautiful, considering it was an election year. So we'll just go into a little bit of that and say what you need to say, JP.
Yeah, awesome. Welcome everyone to the live. You might be a little kind of rolling on your New Year's resolutions. Others might be kind of fun New Year because they were more intentional. For me, a late flight, I kind of time warped through the tones and also the New Year. So that was an interesting experience. And I'm now back in Scottsdale. So yeah, I'm super excited. Suffering a bit with jet lag, but yeah, let's kick it off. This is going to be an awesome topic of some of the things that we did really great, and then a few things that we maybe fell short on, right? So it's always good to reflect and push forward into the new year. So let's do it.
Absolutely. And something that I want to bring up here is the idea of quote unquote resolutions, because I don't think that you and I really set resolutions. It's more so just continuing on the plan that was a compound effect from the year before. And we've been working together since early 2021, owning a business together since 2022. And we really set the goals in the same way. And that's what I want to kind of talk about today. Goals don't happen, no such thing as overnight success. And anyone who's watching, anything that you see as like a success, whether it's personal or professional or physical or mental, it's a compound effect. It's not going to be like, oh, January 1st hits and like that's when you should set your goals and start new, because that's a surefire way of failure. And it actually took me like through college and after college to realize that it's the day you make the decision is the day that it's actually going to change. So a couple of things that we're going to focus on today, especially with the lessons that we learned in 2024 coming into 2025, is number one is clarity is the foundation of growth. Number two is the power of focus over expansion. We expanded and I guess retracted this year and then expanded again and then retracted this year. How relationships outlast transactions, adapt to perfection, and how the biggest asset that we have in this life is time. We're going to go deep into each of these topics. And JP, I hope this resonates with you as much as it does with me when I was writing this post yesterday, but I read your newsletter and I think you were on the same page for Wednesday revenue recharge.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, let's hop into the first here, Nina. You have clarity and foundation of growth. Yeah, I mean, man, we could go this one, right? What do you
The
think?
first bullet point that I brought up here is blindly running a business will lead to bad decision making. So a lot of times I hear people are in the foundational phase, the 0 to 10K, and they're kind of just doing anything to get done. But once they hit that 10K, which the first 10K through the door, even first recurring 10K months, probably is the most chaotic in business until you're really ready to scale from like 50 to 100K. And there's different thresholds of pain through each of the scaling processes that you go through. But if you aren't specific, if you're not, and like we go by, I guess, goals you can say, we don't sit down and be like, what's specific and measurable and blah, 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 and timely and relevant. But what you have to do is really make the goals that you set for yourself very realistic and then create a realistic plan to get there as well. So if you want to make $1 million ARR, okay, reverse engineer that. It's not going to have like 0 to like month 3, unless there's like, maybe 1 or 2 people that we know have done that. But at the end of the day, it's really chunking it down. And we always talk about it. We're not going to go too deep into a JP of like breaking down quarters, having a step-by-step plan in place for each of the quarters, knowing your boulders, your rocks, and your pebbles, and following the process, but letting the numbers dictate the outcome rather than decision making based on how you're feeling. I'm gonna let you talk here because I feel like I've been going on for about 3 minutes. So what are your inputs here?
Yeah, I love this, Nina. The foundations of growth for me, I instantly think of, you know, you learn something new or have a new intention, a new goal. And we oftentimes have a lot of momentum early on, and we have that really like powerful drive, especially if you're a new business owner in those first 10K months that you're speaking there, Nina. And then things kind of can tend to maybe get a little cumbersome, like redundant, right? And you could potentially enter that despair. Pretty common cycle. So I think this is almost everyone it happens to at some point. And then really where you're talking about foundation of growth and clarity on like what you stand for and against, kind of falls into this as well for me. If you don't stay true to what those beliefs are, you can tend to kind of go into a new thing, really start the cycle over. You start, gaining momentum with a new goal or something that has like looks shiny and fun. And then kind of just recycle, right? We have those solid business foundations. You're able to weather the storm per se. So if you do start to dip in that learning phase and development phase, you're able to stay true to where you're truly going and really hit that exponential growth phase. And in my opinion, that's like when you truly become an entrepreneur, you become an innovator, and you really step into your greatness.
Hey, which goes into one of the key points that we're going to talk about here.
Love
Yeah,
that.
I'm a firm believer that every decision becomes simpler when you know your end goal. And I'm also a firm believer that with business, there's no such thing as an end goal. It's just perpetual goals that are making you better. Your business grow, you grow, personal development, etc. And when you have clear priorities, it eliminates analysis paralysis in the sense of what do I need to be doing? Because you know where you're going, so you know what you need to do in order to get there. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but you should be doing these like simple tasks on a daily basis. Your team doing simple tasks on a daily basis, sometimes more complex than others. But simple tasks from you, team members, people that you're working with, etc., are going to compound into this. And it's going to help with, it's going to stop wasting time, which we're going to talk about that as well later on. But it's also going to eliminate shiny object syndrome of, oh, a new, one of my posts on LinkedIn actually, it popped off. I had like almost 60 people like it, which is like unheard of on my account right now. Knock on wood, 2025, that'll be the norm plus more. But I was the first line was like a hook of like, oh my God, did you check out this new social media platform? And then it got the read, and then it got the clicks, and then it got the likes. But it was really to show like that pulled people in because there was this like new thing that's going to save business or whatever. And it's like if you do have a clear goal, you know what platforms you want to build on, you know what kind of creator you want to be, you won't know what type of business owner you want to be. You're not going to be just wasting time going on this platform that pops up or trying this AI tool that pops up because there's a dime a dozen out there. And honestly, old school, like we talk about email marketing, old school tactics will build a business. You don't need every new shiny object syndrome that's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. That focus is definitely the key to success, right? You hear Alex Ramosi speak about it, all the great entrepreneurs, right? Doing
Mhm.
those mundane tasks over and over again and staying ultra focused, you'll get to your goal because the people just won't stay focused and they'll pivot and try new things and not potentially just stick to what their true beliefs are, right? So I love how you brought that in there, Nina, how having really clear and concise like intentions every single day, right? And we brought Michael Amijo and the Habit app, Blake, into the group a couple weeks ago, months ago, and we did a habit challenge. And man, that's really what's been super impactful for us over the past year, right? Just being super intentional every single day, writing down our goals, getting super focused on the five most important tasks, like really just sitting in exactly where I headed to every single day to get to that next big rock, right? And then to get to that next big boulder, and then just keep the cart rolling, even in of lack of momentum or frustration. It really keeps everything moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think we hammered this one down, so I'm going to move on to the next point. But yeah, if you guys don't know ideal habit, definitely changed both JP's and mine life. Like you're tracking things on a daily basis, you're reminding yourself of where you're going, and you're doing micro, intentions every single day of what you should be doing in order to hit the goal, what you could have been doing from yesterday that's making you 1% better today. And I really do think that the 1% rule of like if you could get 1% better every day, even if it is just like micro tracking food or looking at your time. We'll talk about auditing time. I don't want to go too deep, but it's definitely something that changed both of our lives and definitely impacted our business as well. But let's step into topic number two, Jay, which is the power of focus over expansion. And I feel like you and I kind of struggled with this year as we're growing our client base, growing our team, looking for like making decisions based on fear and lack of knowledge of what we need to be making. And I just wanted to bring this to the forefront to people that are growing a team and looking back and reflecting at the decisions that they've made as well. But you must bring clarity to chaos. And like I had a conversation yesterday talking about clarity to chaos, somebody with ADHD who had a business, and it sparked this kind of innovative idea, right? But a business will inevitably have sprint seasons. But we have to remember that forever leads to a vaulted foundation and burnout. So business is really a marathon. There are certain times that you're going to be able to go faster and build more and strive more and do more. But then there's other times that you have to reset, reflect, really go through that point of like what needs to be consolidated and move forward to hit the next level to like 0 to 10K, 10K to 30K, 30K to 50K, 50K to 100K, 100K plus, etc. per month. It's like there's different milestones and different consolidation points you have to look back. And you can constantly sprint, but then you're going to look back and the business is going to break in certain areas, whether it's your client retention, whether it's your marketing processes, whether it's your sales processes, whether it's SOP development and team building, etc. And taking on too much at one time without the proper support leads to mediocrity or mediocre results in multiple areas of business. So overextending yourself often causes like that stress, reduces in overall productivity. Nights that we've had multiple times between the two of us, JP, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit about this of more so of like how we fixed it rather than like pain that we went through growing process and lessons learned.
Yeah, absolutely. And this kind of will bleed into number three, I think, for me, Nina. I learned at a very young age that it takes systems to scale. I worked inside of $100 million automotive businesses, right? And you mentioned chaos there, and that was that I grew up around because it was parts, sales, service, everyone fought against each other. And what I found as a very repetitive thing after working in Denver, New Jersey, Virginia, all over the country, systemizing things was not priority for most of these places, right? So fortunate for us being that I went through that transition, like I really do believe that we hit this pretty hard and pretty direct early on with developing Notion and SOPs and really bringing the team into weekly meetings and monthly meetings and really setting the tasks and the intentions and keeping the communication high and the energy up and really enrolling everyone in our goals and dreams. So I think we've done a great job with that, and I'm saying it's kind of bleeding into number three because relationships outlast transactions, right? If you're pouring into your team or your clients, your goals and all of your intentions are going to move forward in one big direction. It's all going to build on itself, right? It's all going to compound. But if you do not have that vision of, building that solid foundation kind of from the front that we talked about, it'd be hard to expand without kind of retracting, right? So we kind of set our to almost in the like setting a gripping point, knowing that we're going to be able to sprint that next revenue number and kind of consolidate at that number with SOPs behind that, with team growth behind that. Again, we do the best we can. I did a pretty good job. But there was some areas that we did on that we kind of did fall short on in sense of like when we moved into delegating so prematurely did some of those things, but that's growing pains, right? And that's normal. So yeah, do you have anything else to kind of on that? I know kind of it here, but I really wanted to segment into the relationship side of it because it is super important as you're growing and expanding to really build that.
No, and I loved how you touched on what we were talking about. So we can just hop into like one thing that I've learned tremendously this year with last transactions is not only from a client base. So of course you want to make sure that your clients are getting the results that you promised. You want to make sure that they're staying around if you do have, like what we have, retainer offers. You want you're delivering on the promises and getting exceeding expectations, etc. But this also goes internally with a team of like your team members shouldn't just be there to get a paycheck at the end of the day. They should really be bought into the vision of like growing. And like this is going to replicate not only from like a leader standpoint, like you might not talk to some of your employees all the time as your business grows, but the people that you put in charge of the other employees should have the same vision, values, like what your core values are in a company and your core values are as a human and a leader should radiate down to the person that you put in charge of the other people. So the company's all growing together. And I think that's something that we did. It wasn't a bad lesson. It was just a lesson learned of like creating culture that's going to, create more just a transactional relationship. If you hire a copywriter or a media buyer, like the only thing they care about is showing up, doing the job, and like, making money. It's more so they client results. They care about the company and like the lasting vision of the company. They want a growing inside of the company. They have a vision they have a vision of the culture of the company. So the relationships outlast transactions is not just like a client thing, it's also internal. And that's a huge lesson that I think we both learned this year was like, we're really good at relationship building. We've always been. That's why we're partners, right? But it goes deeper than just like a partnership. It goes deeper than just client relationships. It's really just a whole spectrum and a whole picture.
Yeah, awesome. Love that, Nina. And if you have any questions on any of this, drop them in the comment box there. Another thing that just comes front of mind, Nina, is like we took some time at the end of the year to kind of look at what is the lifetime value of us clients, right? We have clients over the past couple of years that are upwards of $50,000 with us, and they've been with us for years on end, right? So that's also something that's super awesome to look at because we know, okay, like these are the people that we need to do better with or align with more, right? And kind of deciphering and looking at what were the things that did so well to keep those people in like in our circle, right? Also on the cash flow side, like what was the structure of the offer? How long were they on for? Did they pay in full? Did they have a payment plan? Like those type of things. Um, for me, that was also very enlightening and look at those things because as business owners, we definitely want to focus on that LTV. It's easier to retain someone than to find someone new. So I just wanted to bring that in a bit there on the relationship side.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And it goes hand with adaptability beats perfection, JP. So the clients that we work with that are long lasting, like of course we have a system that we pull in, but it's also looking at a business holistically. And if anyone knows here, our business name is Scaling Lean. We help with automation, we help with emails. For a while, we were helping with paid advertising, etc. But it's really just every business is a different beast to tackle. And I think the idea behind like, okay, VSLs work, but what so does this one? Is this one? And like able to learn trends in the market and like trends repeat and recycle and there's only so many that you can build. Like people are trying to strap a new name on like an old school thing that worked in 2016. There's only so many things that work and being able to adapt to different businesses rather than thinking like, okay, this worked for this client, it must work for this client. And letting like releasing the ego while going into like business with the clients that we do work with and even our own company. It's like, okay, this should have worked historically, but if it didn't, like what can we do in order to fix the problem and get the result? And adaptability definitely, it's like learning to let go of something that's not first like the tenacious ego of like, no, I have to make it work. And I think that's something that we faced a couple of times with the kind of clients that we were working with, JP. Like, okay, our strategy works with most, but it was here. When was the point to let go and build a new strategy versus go deeper and try to make it work? I think you could definitely talk on this too because you were making a lot of decisions with the clients on the side.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, probably the best way to straight up say like who we work with the best. Like it's really that easy, right? Like we found that email marketing was one of the strongest things we've done over the years, and building the conversion systems, the automated processes based around micro stories, parables, and really helping showcase testimonials and value based on your offer and your client. When we took a look at some of the clients that churned a little sooner, we found that they were a bit more towards money and not really as heartfelt. Not saying all of them, but some of them were not as like soul-led entrepreneurs where we defined our business and our passion and purpose, and like we have a vision to impact massive amount of people, but at the same time we don't want to have like this massive churn and burn system where it's just like get them in, get them out. We want to have a group that we're part of that's really connected to us. And what I mean by small group is 10 or less people at the high level of our agency that we're really connected with, that we can grow with for years, right? That's our vision. And we've aligned with some of those people time. And unfortunately, as part of the process, you just kind of you have to learn and adapt based on relationships. And sometimes people just don't match up, or the things you're doing for those people don't match up, different niches. So we've kind of identified certain niches that we don't want to go deep with and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope that gives a little clarity. Any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to like say deeper in any aspect of that. But for me, that's really what we learned for me.
Yeah, and I love how everything plays off of each other. So it's like adaptability beats perfection. Like you just explained also like attention and vision. Like what is the vision of a company? And it goes hand in hand with every single one of the goals. And we're going to talk about number five, which I think is the biggest lesson ever. Like I learned it a couple of years ago, but your biggest asset is time. And I feel like a lot of people talk about asset, like time being the best asset that you have, you never get it back. And people like talk about it, but they don't really live it. But time is really a finite resource, and it's really critical to use it wisely. And a huge lesson that I took away from an event that we went to actually in April of 2024 was auditing daily activity and releasing time wasters. And this is like when we hired, not our first, it was our fifth hire for a virtual assistant, but one that was more skilled that we can place into roles that will help us delegate things that we were doing repetitively on a daily basis that were very crucial for movement of our clients. And it was kind of like we were scared to let go and trust them to do it. And we also knew that it wasn't worth paying like $7,000, $8,000 a month to an American employee. So it was really just like auditing the time, what's taking most of the time, and just like delegating. Copywriting, another thing that we delegated. DMs and things like that, another thing that we delegated. So as we were growing our team, it's like, what are things that are super revenue we can handle versus like what are super revenue drivers that another very common human can not only handle but do better. Like shout out to Nikki who built out our Notion, which is super crucial for the growth of our company. Um, and I'm talking about internal and external in business. So when I did like an audit of my time, I was like, where am I spending a lot of like my thinking power? Where am I spending a lot of my time and like outside of work as well, which would affect how many hours I could put towards work. And a couple of things that I realized is like, if I didn't plan my meals of the week, like I spent way too much time thinking about what needed to be made for dinner or what needed to be made for lunch. So I like pre-planned all of that. If I didn't put in my calendar that I was going to the gym, I would show up and kind of like waste time at the gym, not knowing to be done. So this is like internally and externally in business, like you as a to like realize that's the most valuable asset. And be truly honest, like when I changed my mindset after this, like it took like a month or two to audit everything. So I've always been like pretty decent time blocking. But when I audited the time inside of the time blocking, I was like, there's definitely hours of the day that I could like really consolidate. So now it's like I'm going to gym more because it's on my schedule and I know what I need to be doing. So I'm not just going to blow it off because it's part of like a bigger agenda that I'm at. Same thing with food. Like when you're tracking macros and micros or you're eating, it's like you want to hit your goals. And it's the same thing, like what you do internally in business and externally in business is going to impact the human. I just went on a long rant, but like this is like a huge lesson that I took away.
Absolutely. And I know for you and I think one of the biggest assets we both read was buy back your time, right? That's a great asset if you haven't read that book yet, it's definitely something that I'd highly recommend. Just really helps you audit your time and intentions, helps with team building a little bit. Nothing crazy there, but that's a great one. One thing on the time side for me, Nina, and I know that we're setting intentions for this year, is really building more evergreen assets that really showcase our framework more in the low to mid ticket range. Really building more leverage inside of our ecosystem by building our lists more with more of a repetitive newsletter. We've had massive with lead magnets, right? And we've injected hundreds of leads with the scaling playbook and with 1 million leads magnets and all types of different lead magnets, the art of conversions lead magnet. But what we're really going to be more intentional about this year is building recurring lead magnet retention through that weekly newsletter, right? Just to give people more deep understanding of the way we do things and who we are, how we are, and things like that.
Yeah. And we're going over time here too. Like now it's 27 minutes, but I want to ask you just like doing reflections on the past year, like how does that help you shape the vision and feed momentum for the next year coming forward?
I mean, for me, it's as I go through this entrepreneurship journey, I'm able to focus for longer, I feel like. So the things I learn, the goals I set are now just getting longer. The time horizon is getting longer. And I think I'm focusing less on actual outcomes and focusing more on what are the things I need to do in order to get to the outcome, right? Um, so in a way, I know the exponential or whatever growth we want, right, is coming, whether that's personal, physically, or professionally. But I'm really focusing in daily on those time block segments and those focused efforts to building evergreen assets and really spending the time with the clients more, more like intention, right? To really get result and really build the business stronger based on the key foundations that you've really identified after working in this business for over 3 years and generating $7 million, right? So that's for me, that's really what it is just kind of expanding the time horizon and getting more clear on those fundamental skills and really saying no more to things that really aren't aligned with who we are and what we do.
I agree. Powerful. Awesome. So I think we could wrap it up there. So Thursdays and 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. We're still sorting out if we're going to stay in the Facebook group or not. We have been very heavy on LinkedIn. So if you do want to follow us on LinkedIn, there's daily posts and that's where you can find our newsletter and everything. It's a really great way to connect and learn and see what we're doing on that platform because that's going to be a large strategy that we're pulling into 2025. Started in 2024, dabbled with it pretty hardcore, and now it's like leading our force in 2025. Again, it wasn't a decision we made yesterday. It was compound effect through the new year. But with that being said, we'll see you next week at 11 Standard Time. Do you have any topics that you want us to cover, whether it's email marketing related or business growth related, selling on social platforms related, or even just kind of videos like this of how we're thinking, why we think, and what causes the results that we do get? Just drop a comment below and we're more than happy to adhere to it. So
Absolutely appreciate you, Michael, for tuning in. Stevie, see a few likes on the video. Always love seeing you guys here. So appreciate that, and we'll see you next week.
bye.